Quick show of hands, has anybody foraged before? Has anyone done foraging before? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Lots of things by canal side banks, and it was in the summertime. So lots of things you can just put in salad.
Yeah, that's mainly what we're looking at today as well. So, but yeah, canals are good foraging. I want to point this out to you. What we have here is two members of the carrot family that are very similar. To the untrained eye, they might even be identical. The one in this hand is called wild chervil or cow parsley. It's probably the commonest carrot family plant in the UK. It's perfectly safe to eat. It's got a kind of a medicinal, antiseptic kind of taste. It's very good if you've got gum disease of any kind. But it does leave quite a long aftertaste in your mouth. It lasts for quite a few hours in your mouth. This plant is also a member of the carrot family, and it's called hemlock. And eating even a small amount of this will kill you. So the reason I want to show you these is to illustrate that unless you are absolutely sure what you're eating, don't eat it. Thanks so much, Eric.
Thank you.
Since we're walking this way, I may as well just use what I see while I'm here. So this is a very common plant in the UK. It's called hawthorn. It doesn't always have many thorns on it. It just depends on the variety that you get. It's a member of the apple family. It's related to the apple. And at this time of year, you can eat the leaves. They're very soft, quite supple, easy to chew. And hawthorn is a natural blood thinner, so it's really good for anyone who's got high blood pressure. Later on in the year, what you'll be able to do is eat the berries. And there are a couple here, quite conveniently, from last year that haven't fallen off. So they've survived the winter. They're not edible anymore, they're too old. But by the middle, probably about middle of August, this tree will be covered in red berries, which will also taste quite similar to apple. And you can eat them raw, but they do have quite a large stone in them, so you have to eat quite a lot to get any volume of food. But foragers tend to use this plant to make hawthorn jam or hawthorn jelly, just by boiling the berries and removing the stones. And this is one of England's ancient hedgerow plants. So it forms the privet hedge, separating fields in a lot of farms. And if you've got hawthorn in your hedgerow in a farm, then there's a good chance that the farm is at least a few hundred years old. And more recently developed farms tend not to have hawthorn as a hedge. So we've got a bit of a bigger patch of garlic mustard here. If you didn't see any on the corridor, there's a bit there. Just want to point this plant out, just so that you're aware. It's a poisonous plant called dog's mercury. It does grow in a lot of places where you're foraging for edible greens. So have a look at the characteristics, have a look at the seed pods. The design of the seed pods are the main thing that identify it as dog's mercury, and avoid it. Nature doesn't conveniently grow in a meadow where we can all just gather around. It just grows wherever it wants. But we've got some cow parsley here, the one that I passed around earlier, which is one of the safe ones to eat. And you'll notice again the tiny white hairs on the stem. So that is a safe one for you to try. I would, however, say avoid the carrot family until you've been foraging for a while, just to eliminate the chance that you'll eat anything poisonous. But that's cow parsley. I think quite a few people have picked it up, so I'll just pass it around. The other one is something called goosegrass or sticky willies. This is called goosegrass. In fact, it's got probably about 20 names. Goosegrass, sticky willies, bedstraw, sticky weed, Here's another one. It's the one that sticks to you normally. You can use this to make green tea. If you just get a handful of it, that is probably about enough to make you a decent cup of green tea. Just boil it in the water. It can be used as a salad green as well, but it grows everywhere. In the late summer, you can actually make a coffee from the seed pods. You'll find that there are some small round seed pods that grow on goosegrass, and if you've got the patience to collect enough of them, and it does take ages, if you then dry them and grind them, you can make a coffee with it. But it is a relative of coffee. It's a relative of the coffee plant. So when it comes to nettles, the best part of the nettle to eat is the top. It's what I refer to as the nettle top, and it's the youngest part of the plant. So regardless of the time of year, if you just take the top 3 layers of leaves from the nettle, then you're going to get the best bit. But we're in, this time of year is the best time to eat it. And you can eat all of this. The stem is fairly soft, so you can eat the stem. But what you need to do, if you're collecting lots of nettles, you best to obviously have gloves, like gardening gloves, and a plastic bag to separate them from everything else that's in your bag. But you can pinch the stem on a nettle without being stung, providing you can get your fingers in and avoid the sting. The sting always comes from the edge of the leaves, not the stem. So if you just want to collect a few nettle tops, if you carefully just get in and pinch the stem, then normally you'll be okay. So there's 2 main ways that you can, well, there's lots of ways, but there's 2 main ways that you can use these. You can either make nettle tea, and all you need to do for that is just to drop the nettle into some boiling water, and then when the tea's ready, take it out, discard it, and you've got nettle tea.
There is a way.
So this is referred to as cherry blossom. If you've ever tasted almond essence or marzipan, then you'll recognise the taste of the flowers. So there won't be very much sugar in, but you'll get the almond marzipan taste of the flowers. And if you've got the patience, you can collect them and either make a syrup if you've got loads, or you can flavour a salad with them if you haven't got very much. You'll find that in autumn that will have rose lips on it. So just very quickly to point out, this is a poisonous plant called lily of the valley. The other name for it is lords and ladies, and it very often grows near to wild garlic. So if you ever collect wild garlic, make sure that you don't pick this up. It's got a similar colour and a similar kind of sheen on the leaf to wild garlic, but a very different shape. So this is more of an arrow shape with 2 lobes at the bottom here. You can see the distinctive lobes. So that's one to avoid. It's called Lords and Ladies, or Lily of the Valley. So we've got a... What's your name, sorry? Chris. Chris found some sorrel earlier, so I had a quick look, and it is actually growing on the grass here, so it's quite good one to know. These are the youngest leaves, and they tend to grow to around about 2 inches long. But they've got tiny lobes at the bottom, pointy lobes, and they have kind of a sorbet, lemony kind of taste. Sorrel is commonly used in restaurants in cooking, especially in expensive restaurants. So, I mean, this is like a public area, so I can understand if you're not too keen on tasting it, but I'll pass it around in case you do want to taste. So I'll just pass it around. This is a medicinal plant called meadow sweet, or lady of the meadow. And now you're looking at it in its very, very earliest, youngest form. By July, this will be a plant probably around about 7 or 8 feet high, and it will have a cluster flower head, which looks a bit like a creamy coloured cloud. The flower head is used to make an anti-inflammatory tea, meadow sweet tea. You can also make beer and wine from it, meadow sweet beer, meadow sweet wine. But It's still of interest at this age because of the stalks contain a medicinal compound called salicylic acid, which is the stuff that you find in Savlon or Ralgex deep heat. So I'm going to pass it around. All you need to do is just press the stalk to release some of the essential oils, and then have a smell, and then you'll probably instantly recognise it. So I'm going to finish with 2 plants. This one is wild garlic. So have a look at the leaves, have a smell, break the leaf if you want to release some of the garlic smell. Notice that there is other stuff growing in and amongst the wild garlic. So whenever you're picking it, just try and be careful to only pick that and not anything else that might be in there. So this other one I'm just going to show you quickly is a hogweed. This is also a member of the carrot family, which is safe to eat. It's called hogweed. It's not, to be honest with you, my favourite, but it's of interest because it's very closely related to celery. And if you have a look, you will notice that there's a groove running down the middle, much as you get with the celery. And also the bottom, the shape of the bottom is very celery-like as well. But you'll also see that it's covered in, again, as with wild chervil, it's covered in tiny white hairs. So that's an indicator that it's a carrot family plant that's safe to eat. The one thing I would say about hogweed is that it does have a dangerous cousin called giant hogweed, which I haven't seen an example of, so I can't show you, unfortunately. But giant hogweed never has the groove on the stem. Giant hogweed always has circular stems. And again, it will also have red spots on it, like the hemlock does. The thing with giant hogweed is it can blind you. If you get the sap in your eyes, it will blind you.
More sling, any kind of stings then, like, you know, even like...
Bye! Hope to see you one day at your